The first sound that touched Leah's ears was the soft chime of the Seoul International Airport. She walked out of the private lounge in a flow of perfume, her heels clicking against the marble floor as though the earth itself was her runway. Heads turned. Men whispered. Women glanced twice at her glowing skin, her curvy figure, her black silk dress that hugged her like it had been stitched by angels. Leah was not an ordinary tourist. She was a model, a black queen with style so sharp that cameras bowed without her asking. Her wigs were luxurious, her nails shimmered like glass, her handbags screamed wealth, yet she carried herself with the ease of a goddess who had nothing to prove. She had come to Korea to shop, to explore, and to breathe in a different kind of luxury. She had no idea her life was about to twist into a storm she could never have imagined. Across the city, in a skyscraper that glittered against the Seoul skyline, Ji-woon sat in his penthouse office. He was 32, rich beyond measure, and dangerous beyond words. His empire was not written in contracts, it was carved in blood. He was the Mafia king, the man businessmen feared and rivals plotted against. He had everything: money, cars, women who offered themselves without question. Yet he was empty. Love was a stranger to him. That afternoon, fate opened its door. Ji-woon had gone down to his favorite luxury store to sign a silent deal, one that involved laundering millions through designer clothes. He wore a black silk shirt unbuttoned at the top, tattoos crawling across his chest and arms like dangerous secrets. His jawline was sharp, his dark eyes cold. People stepped aside when he entered. Nobody dared breathe too loudly around him. Then he saw her, Leah. She was standing in front of a mirror, tilting her head slightly as an assistant placed a diamond necklace across her throat. The lights caught her skin, making her glow like midnight silk. Her full lips curved into a soft smile. Her eyes carrying that mix of power and playfulness that could break a man in half without a word. Ji-woon froze. His heartbeat stumbled. For the first time in years, he wasn't the predator. He was the prey. She looked nothing like the women he was used to, those who clung to him for money or power. Leah's aura was different. She carried luxury, yes, but it didn't own her. She looked like a queen who could build her own throne. He wanted her, not for a night, not as a fling. He wanted her as though the air in his lungs depended on her. But there was a problem. Ji-woon had never known how to love, let alone toast a woman. His world was guns, silence, and commands. He could buy anyone, but he couldn't win hearts. His men feared him, his rivals hated him, and the police hunted him. Yet here he was, staring at Leah, unable to move. Leah caught his reflection in the mirror. Their eyes locked. For a moment, time stilled. She didn't know who he was, but something in his gaze made her chest tighten. It wasn't just desire. It was hunger, dangerous hunger, the kind that warned her heart to run, but also whispered curiosity into her veins. She turned away first, lifting her chin like the queen she was, and walked toward the cashier. Ji-woon clenched his jaw, his fingers twitching. His men stood at the door, watching, waiting for his signal. He said nothing, but his eyes followed her every step as she left the store, sliding into a sleek black car waiting outside. That night, Ji-woon sat in his penthouse, glass of whiskey untouched in his hand. He replayed her image in his mind. The wig that shimmered under the lights, the curve of her smile, the fire in her walk. He had built his life on taking what he wanted. Power, money, territory. But this was different. Leah wasn't something to own. She was someone to conquer. And Ji-woon knew, deep in the pit of his chest, that if he didn't act, she would slip away. So he made a decision. If he couldn't win her, the normal way, he would create his own way. He picked up his phone, his voice low, dangerous, final. Find her. Bring her to me. For the first time in his life, Ji-woon wasn't planning a business move. He was planning a kidnapping. Not for power, not for ransom, but for love. And Leah, beautiful and unaware, had no idea that the next time she opened her eyes, the city of Seoul would no longer be her playground. It would be her prison. A prison lined with silk sheets, diamonds, and one ruthless man who had decided she would be his. The first thing Leah noticed was the silence. She opened her eyes slowly, expecting to see the familiar white curtains of her hotel suite. Instead, her gaze met a ceiling painted in deep gray, adorned with a massive crystal chandelier that dripped light like frozen stars. The sheets beneath her were silk, cool against her skin, scented faintly of expensive cologne. Her heart lurched. This wasn't her room. She sat up too quickly, her head spinning. The last thing she remembered was leaving the luxury mall, stepping into her car, and scrolling through her phone as the city lights blurred past. After that, darkness. Her breathing quickened. She slid off the bed, bare feet pressing into a Persian rug so soft it felt like clouds. The room was enormous. Walls of glass looking over the city, furniture so sleek it looked like it belonged in a magazine. Yet the door was locked, and no sound came from beyond it. "Hello." Her voice trembled at first, then hardened. "Who's there?" The handle turned. The door opened slowly, and Ji-woon walked in. He wasn't in a suit this time. He wore a black turtleneck that clung to his lean muscles, tattoos crawling up his neck like shadows. His eyes, sharp and unreadable, found her instantly. He carried himself with the calm of a man used to control, a predator stepping into his own den. Leah staggered back, fists clenched. "What is this? Where am I?" He closed the door behind him without breaking eye contact. "Safe. Safe?" she repeated, voice rising. "You drug me, drag me God knows where, and you call it safe?" Ji-woon didn't flinch. Instead, he took a slow step toward her, then another. His presence filled the room, cold and magnetic, pulling her toward him even as her mind screamed to resist. "I had to," he said simply, voice low and deep. "You wouldn't have come otherwise." Leah laughed bitterly. "Oh, so kidnapping is your version of an invitation?" His lips curved faintly. Not a smile, more like a secret. "I don't know how to do this." Her eyes narrowed. "Do what?" He stopped just inches from her, his height towering, his scent surrounding her. Dark, expensive, addictive. He leaned closer, his voice brushing her ear like a forbidden whisper. "Love." The word froze her. For a moment, her anger cracked, replaced by confusion. She pulled back, searching his eyes. They weren't mocking. They weren't playful. They were raw, a storm trapped in glass. "You're insane," she whispered. "Maybe." His gaze lingered on her lips, then dropped to the diamond necklace still around her throat from the store. "But I'm not letting you go. Not yet." Leah's chest rose and fell rapidly. "Why me? You don't even know me." "I don't need to." His tone hardened. One look was enough. She shook her head, fury returning. "You think I'll just fall for you? Because you lock me in a pretty cage with your chandelier and silk sheets." Ji-woon's jaw tightened, but he didn't look away. "Not a cage. A countdown." Her brows furrowed. "What are you talking about?" He stepped back finally, giving her air, though his presence still pressed heavily against her chest. He pulled a sleek black watch from his pocket, placed it on the nightstand, and clicked a button. The screen lit up with glowing red numbers. 180:00:00. 180 days, he said. "That's how long I'll keep you. 6 months. At the end, you can walk out of here. If you still want to." Leah's mouth fell open. "You've lost your damn mind." He didn't argue. He simply stood there, calm, certain. "In 180 days, you'll love me. I'll make sure of it." The silence that followed was heavier than chains. Leah wanted to scream. She wanted to claw his face, break the watch, shatter the glass walls. But part of her, a small, traitorous part, felt her pulse quicken for a different reason. Because as terrifying as he was, as insane as this was, something about Ji-woon's certainty lit a dangerous fire inside her. "Let me out," she whispered, though it lacked conviction. He tilted his head, studying her, as though every word she spoke was a puzzle he intended to solve. "Dinner will be ready soon. You'll eat with me." "I'm not hungry." He smirked faintly. "You will be." With that, Ji-woon turned and walked to the door. His hand lingered on the handle before he glanced back, eyes softer for just a second. "Don't be afraid, Leah. I don't hurt what I love." Then he was gone, leaving her trembling in a room that felt less like a prison and more like a trap set with silk and shadows. Leah collapsed onto the bed, fists buried in the sheets, fury and fear and something else battling inside her chest. She didn't believe him. She couldn't. But as she stared at the glowing red numbers counting down on the watch, she realized one truth that made her stomach twist. For the next 180 days, she belonged to him. The dining room looked more like a palace hall than a place to eat. A long ebony table stretched across the space, lined with candles that flickered against the tall glass walls. The city glittered beyond, 1,000 lights bowing beneath the penthouse. A chef had arranged dishes so delicate they looked like art. Steaks seared to perfection, sushi lined with gold flakes, wine older than Leah herself. But Leah sat stiffly at the far end, arms folded, glaring across at Ji-woon. He was too calm. That irritated her most. He sat back in his chair, black shirt hugging his frame, one tattoo crawling up his neck like a secret. He poured wine into his glass, then into hers, as if this was a normal dinner between lovers. She pushed the glass away. "I don't drink with kidnappers." His lips curved faintly. "I'm not a kidnapper. I'm a man in love." Leah laughed, sharp, bitter. "Love? You don't even know my last name." "I don't need it." He cut into his steak slowly, eyes never leaving hers. "I know your eyes. I know your voice. I know you're mine." She slammed her hand on the table, making the glasses tremble. "I'm not yours. I'll never be yours. You think money and chandeliers can change that?" Silence filled the room. His men, standing discreetly by the door, shifted uncomfortably. Nobody dared breathe when Ji-woon's jaw tightened like that. Then, slowly, he set down his knife and leaned forward, elbows resting on the table. His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "I don't need chandeliers, Leah. I could give you nothing but these four walls, and you would still choose me." Her pulse jumped, but she covered it with a scoff. "Arrogant much?" He didn't deny it. Instead, he stood and walked around the table. Leah's body tensed as he stopped behind her chair, his presence heavy, his scent brushing her neck, dark musk, expensive leather, danger wrapped in desire. "You're fire," he murmured, his voice a velvet threat. "And me? I'm ice. You burn. I freeze. Together we make storms." Leah's breath caught. She hated that her skin tingled where his words touched her. She hated that her chest rose faster, that her body betrayed the fury in her mind. She pushed back her chair and stood sharply, spinning to face him. "You think you can charm me with your Mafia poetry? Let me make it clear. I don't fall for criminals." For a heartbeat, silence stretched between them. His dark eyes locked onto hers, searching, daring. Then, unexpectedly, Ji-woon smiled. Not cruel, not mocking, but almost boyish. "Good," he said softly. "Then you won't make this easy for me." That smile, that fleeting human smile, confused her more than his threats. Leah's anger wavered, though she forced herself to keep her chin high. "I don't care how much time you think you have," she hissed. 180 days, 1,000 days. I'll never love you." He tilted his head, studying her like a puzzle he intended to solve piece by piece. "We'll see." Before she could snap back, he turned away and walked to the window. Hands tucked into his pockets, he gazed at the city below, as though their argument had been nothing but a ripple in his storm. Leah's chest heaved. She hated him. She hated his arrogance, his control, his certainty. But what she hated most was the flicker of something else beneath her anger. Curiosity. Attraction. Why did her heart race every time he came close? Why did his voice linger in her ears after he left the room? No. She shook her head violently. She wouldn't let him win. Ji-woon's voice cut through her thoughts. "Tomorrow you'll come with me." Her head snapped up. "What?" He turned, eyes glinting under the chandelier. "I want you to see my world. If you're going to hate me fully. If you're going to love me." His lips curved into that faint, dangerous smile. "Then you'll know what you're choosing." Leah's stomach twisted. His world. Guns? Blood? Mafia power? But before she could answer, he walked out, leaving her alone in the glittering dining room. Her fists clenched at her sides, fury and fear mixing with something she refused to name. She swore she would never bend. She swore she would never give him what he wanted. Yet, as she glanced at the glowing red numbers still counting down on the watch by her bed, she felt a chill. 177 days left. And already, Her fire was clashing with his ice in a storm she wasn't sure she could escape. Leah sat in front of the vanity table, her reflection staring back at her in disbelief. She hardly recognized the woman in the mirror. The flawless wig she had chosen that morning still framed her face perfectly. Her makeup had barely smudged, and her silk dress shimmered under the chandelier's glow. Yet, beneath the glamour, she felt trapped. Trapped by four walls of a mansion and by the gaze of a man who was both her captor and her secret temptation. The door creaked open, and she didn't need to turn to know it was him. Ji-woon always carried an aura, sharp, dangerous, magnetic. He leaned against the doorframe, his black shirt unbuttoned just enough to reveal the tattoos crawling along his chest. His dark eyes scanned her through the mirror. "You're too quiet today," he said in a voice low and steady, like velvet stretched over steel. Leah swallowed. "Maybe because I have nothing to say." He smirked, walking closer until his reflection hovered behind hers. "Or maybe because you're afraid of saying too much." His scent, expensive cologne mixed with a trace of smoke, surrounded her, stirring something unwanted in her chest. She hated how her pulse betrayed her, quickening whenever he came near. "I don't belong here," she whispered, gripping the edge of the vanity. Ji-woon leaned down, his lips grazing the shell of her ear, his voice a husky promise. "You belong where I say you belong. And right now, that's with me." Her body shivered, not entirely from fear. She met his gaze in the mirror, and for the first time, she didn't see only ruthlessness. She saw a flicker of something softer, dangerous in its own way. Later that evening, he led her to the rooftop garden of the mansion. The Seoul skyline stretched endlessly, lights twinkling like fallen stars. For a moment, Leah forgot she was a prisoner. "Why are you showing me this?" she asked, stepping carefully in her heels. Ji-woon stood beside her, hands in his pockets, his jaw sharp against the night sky. "Because I want you to see what I see. The city. Everyone in it fears me. But you don't fear me enough. And I can't decide if that's reckless or beautiful." Leah's heart thudded. "Fear isn't love," she said softly. His gaze burned into her. "Then teach me love. In 180 days, you'll be mine. Completely." The words clung to the night air, heavy and dangerous. Leah's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her chest tightened. She should have shouted at him, cursed him, demanded her freedom. Instead, her heart betrayed her with a single wild thought. What if he really means it? That night, sleep eluded her. The mansion's silence pressed against her ears, and the echo of Ji-woon's voice lingered in her head. She rolled over, burying her face in the pillow, angry at herself for even entertaining the possibility of feelings for him. But when the door opened suddenly, her breath caught. Ji-woon stepped inside, his presence filling the room like a storm. He looked tired, as if carrying the weight of battles she couldn't see. Without asking, he sat at the edge of her bed, silent for a long time. Leah sat up slowly, her heartbeat loud in her ears. "What are you doing here?" His hand reached for hers, not forcefully this time, but almost hesitant. "I don't know why, but I can't stay away from you." His voice cracked slightly, betraying him. Leah stared at him. The ruthless mafia boss, the man who could make people tremble with just one look, was suddenly vulnerable in front of her. Against her will, her chest softened. "This isn't how love works, Ji-woon," she whispered, tears threatening to fall. He leaned closer, his forehead brushing hers, his breath warm and desperate. "Then show me, break me, teach me. Just don't push me away." And in that fragile moment, Leah realized the most dangerous truth of all. Her heart was no longer chained by fear. It was caught between chains and heartbeats, and both belonged to him. The mansion trembled with the sound of gunfire. Leah froze, clutching the satin robe around her body as shouts and footsteps echoed down the hallway. Her heart pounded, not from fear of Ji-woon anymore, but from the chaos that surrounded him. For the first time, she was seeing the reality of his life. Not just the luxury and power, but the violence that stalked him like a shadow. The door burst open. Ji-woon stormed in, his black shirt splattered with blood, his eyes fierce. Leah gasped, stepping back instinctively. "It's not mine," he said quickly, his voice low and urgent. His chest rose and fell rapidly, the adrenaline still coursing through him. "Stay close to me. Don't move unless I tell you." Her throat went dry. She wanted to scream, to ask what was happening, but the words tangled in her fear. Ji-woon grabbed a pistol from the nightstand drawer and tucked it into his waistband. Then he turned to her, his jaw hard, but his hand surprisingly gentle as it brushed her cheek. "I promised myself you'd never see this part of my world." His voice dropped. "But it's too late." The gunfire outside grew louder. Ji-woon pulled her toward him, shielding her body with his own as he led her down the dim corridor. His hand was warm, his grip steady, yet she could feel the storm raging inside him. "Who's attacking?" Leah whispered, her voice trembling. "Rivals. They want what's mine." His gaze flicked to her, intense. "They'll never touch you. Not while I'm alive." Her chest tightened. For weeks she had thought of him as her captor, her enemy. But now, as bullets shattered windows, he was her only shield. They reached a hidden staircase that spiraled down to the basement. Ji-woon pushed her inside, locking the door behind them. The space was lined with steel and concrete, a safe house within the mansion. Leah pressed against the cold wall, breathing hard. "Is this how you live every day? With blood? With war?" Ji-woon's shoulders tensed. He paced, running, a hand through his messy hair. "This is the price of power. You wouldn't understand. Then why drag me into it?" She shot back, her voice sharper than she intended. "You could have left me to my life, my freedom. But instead, you put me in chains and now I'm trapped in your war." Her words hit him like bullets. He turned, his eyes burning. "Do you think I planned this? Do you think I wanted to be consumed by you?" He took a step closer, his voice raw. "You walked into my world, Leah, and I haven't slept since. I haven't breathed without thinking of you. And if that makes me a monster, then fine. I'll be your monster." Leah's breath caught. His confession cut through her anger, leaving her trembling for reasons she didn't want to admit. The silence between them stretched, heavy and charged. Then, without warning, Ji-woon pressed her against the wall. His hand cupped her jaw, tilting her face up to his. "You drive me insane," he murmured, his lips inches from hers. "Every second I'm near you, I lose control." Leah's knees weakened. She should have pushed him away, screamed at him, reminded him of her captivity. But instead, her body betrayed her, arching toward his heat. Her fingers curled into his shirt, pulling him closer. When his lips crashed against hers, it was fire meeting fire. Hot, desperate, consuming. His kiss was rough, demanding, as though he was claiming what he had already taken. Yet beneath the ruthlessness, there was hunger. Not just for her body, but for her soul. Leah gasped against his mouth, her heart racing. Every kiss blurred the line between hatred and desire. When his hands traced the curve of her waist, when his breath tangled with hers, the world outside, the war, the danger, the chains, disappeared. There was only this moment, only him. "Ji-woon," she whispered when their lips finally broke apart, her voice unsteady. He pressed his forehead against hers, his chest heaving. "Tell me to stop and I will. But if you don't," his voice cracked with need, "I'll never let you go." Her eyes closed, tears threatening to spill. The war inside her was fiercer than the one outside the mansion. She wanted freedom, yet in his arms, freedom suddenly felt overrated. Hours later, the gunfire quieted. Ji-woon received a message through his earpiece. The rivals had retreated. He exhaled, relief flickering across his features. Leah sat on the edge of the bed in the safe house, her robe slipping from her shoulder, revealing soft skin. Ji-woon's gaze lingered on her, and for the first time, she saw not the Mafia boss, but a man burdened by a kingdom built on violence. "Why me?" she asked quietly. "Out of all the women in Korea, why me?" Ji-woon stepped closer, crouching in front of her. His hand brushed her thigh, his eyes locked on hers with dangerous sincerity. "Because when I saw you," he said slowly, "I saw a queen, not someone to use, not someone to discard. but someone who could burn this cold empire to the ground, or make it worth saving. Leah's lips parted, her chest aching. She wanted to argue, to resist. But the truth was clear. She was already burning with him. The mansion had returned to its eerie calm, but Leah's heart had not. She wandered through the endless marble corridors in silence, her silk gown brushing against the floor, her mind still tangled in the heat of Ji-woon's kiss from the night before. Her body still remembered it, the way his hands had burned against her skin, the way his lips had stolen not just her breath but her defiance. It made her furious. Furious at him, furious at herself. She pushed open the door to the indoor garden, a quiet glass-ceiling sanctuary where moonlight spilled over exotic flowers. She needed air, space to think. That's when she heard them. Two of Ji-woon's men stood by the fountain, their voices hushed but urgent. Leah froze, hidden behind a column of orchids. "She's a distraction," one of them muttered in Korean. "The boss has changed since she arrived. He's reckless. He's leaving himself exposed." The other man scoffed. "Exposed? He's obsessed. Everyone can see it. That woman is his weakness, and weaknesses get leaders killed." Leah's stomach dropped. "We should get rid of her before the enemies use her against him," the first man whispered. "If the rivals discover how much she means to him, they won't stop until she's dead." Leah's hand flew to her mouth to stifle the gasp. Her knees trembled as the men walked away, their conversation echoing in her skull. "I'm not just his prisoner, I'm his liability." Hours later, she sat by the window of her room, staring at the glittering Seoul skyline. The city was alive with freedom, laughter, choices. All things stolen from her the moment Ji-woon took her. And yet, her heart betrayed her, aching at the thought of being torn from him. She hated herself for it. The door creaked open. Ji-woon entered, freshly showered, his damp hair falling over his forehead, his black silk robe untied at the chest. He looked both lethal and heartbreakingly human. "You didn't eat," he said, glancing at the untouched tray of food. Leah didn't answer. She couldn't. Not with the weight of what she had overheard pressing on her chest. He stepped closer, crouching beside her chair. "Leah, talk to me." Her eyes met his, and for the first time, she saw not just power and desire, but danger. Not danger to her, but because of her. "You need to let me go," she whispered, his jaw clenched. "No, you don't understand." Her voice cracked, tears welling. "You're putting yourself in danger because of me. Your men see it. Your enemies will see it. They'll kill me to get to you." Ji-woon's eyes darkened, his hands gripping her arms with a mix of desperation and tenderness. "Do you think I care? Let them come. I'll bury every single one of them before I let anyone touch you." Leah shook her head, tears spilling. "That's exactly what makes you weak, Ji-woon. And in your world, weakness means death." His breath hitched, as if her words had pierced him deeper than any bullet ever could. For a long moment he said nothing. His gaze burned into her, raw and unguarded. Finally, he whispered, "Then let me die with you in my arms. Because without you, Leah, I don't want this empire." The silence that followed was unbearable. Leah's chest heaved, her tears sliding down as Ji-woon pulled her into his embrace. His arms were strong, unyielding, but his heart thumped against her like a wild, desperate drum. She hated how safe she felt there. Her trembling fingers clung to his robe, her face buried in his chest. "Why me?" she asked, her voice muffled by his skin. He tilted her chin up, his lips brushing hers with a gentleness that contradicted the violence of his world. "Because you're the only thing I can't buy, can't command, can't control. And yet, I can't stop needing you." The kiss that followed was slower this time, aching with tenderness. His lips moved against hers like he was memorizing her, as if every second mattered because tomorrow wasn't promised. Leah melted, her body betraying her resistance. His hand slid into her hair, the other tracing her back. Every touch was fire, every kiss a surrender she couldn't stop giving. When his robe slipped from his shoulder, revealing the inked lines of his chest, Leah pulled back just enough to whisper, breathless, "This isn't love, this is obsession." His lips brushed her ear, his voice husky. "Maybe, But tell me you don't feel it too. She couldn't. Her silence was an answer he read all too clearly. The night blurred in heat and whispers. Leah lay tangled in silk sheets, her body aching from the intensity of his passion. Ji-woon held her against him, his arm draped over her waist protectively, his breathing finally steady. But Leah's eyes stayed open, staring at the ceiling. The men's voices still haunted her. She's his weakness. And for the first time, Leah wasn't afraid of what Ji-woon could do to her. She was afraid of what she could do to him. The mansion slept, cloaked in the stillness of midnight. Outside, the moonlight draped the gardens in silver, and the city lights flickered like restless stars. Inside, Leah's heart hammered against her ribcage as she stuffed clothes into a small leather bag she had stolen from the closet. Her hands trembled. She wasn't running from love. No, that was the part that cut the deepest. She was running for love. Ji-woon didn't know what she had overheard in the garden. He didn't know that his own men believed she was his weakness, the crack in his armor that could bring him down. And Leah couldn't live with the thought of being the bullet aimed at his heart. Her mind whispered, if I leave, he will live. If I stay, he might die. The thought stabbed her as she crept through the corridor, her heels dangling from her hand to muffle her steps. Every shadow seemed to watch her. Every sound made her flinch. Finally, she reached the side door that led to the back garden. Freedom was just a few steps away. She placed her hand on the cold brass handle. Going somewhere? The voice froze her blood. Slowly, she turned. Ji-woon stood behind her, his black silk pajama shirt unbuttoned, revealing his tattooed chest. His hair was tousled, his eyes shadowed with something darker than rage. The silence between them was unbearable. His gaze dropped to the bag in her hand, then back to her face. You were leaving me, he said, his voice low and dangerous, like thunder before a storm. Leah's throat tightened. Ji-woon, don't. He stepped closer, his jaw clenching, his breathing heavy. Do you have any idea what it does to me, to see you with that bag? To know you'd walk out of here and leave me bleeding without you? Her tears brimmed. I wasn't leaving because I don't care. I was leaving because I do. That stopped him. His eyes flickered with confusion. You don't understand, Leah whispered, her voice trembling. I overheard your men. They said I'm your weakness, that your enemies will use me to destroy you. And they're right, Ji-woon. You'll die because of me. I can't let that happen. For a moment he was silent. Then he laughed softly, bitterly, stepping so close she could feel the heat radiating from his body. You think I don't know you're my weakness? His hand lifted, brushing away a tear from her cheek with maddening gentleness. You think I don't feel it every time I look at you? Every time I touch you? Leah, you are the only thing in this world that terrifies me. And still, his voice broke, raw with emotion. I'd rather die with you than live without you. Her tears fell freely. Don't say that. He cupped her face, tilting her head up so she couldn't look away. Then don't run from me. Don't take away the only thing that makes this empire worth bleeding for. Leah's chest ached as his lips crashed against hers, desperate and consuming. The bag slipped from her hand, forgotten, as his arms caged her against the door. His kiss was fire and fury, his breath ragged as though she was air itself. Leah melted, her hands fisting into his shirt, torn between guilt and desire. She kissed him back, hard, until she couldn't tell if she was surrendering or fighting. When they finally pulled apart, both gasping, Ji-woon pressed his forehead to hers. You belong here, with me. Don't ever forget that. Her voice trembled. And if your enemies come for me? His eyes burned with ruthless resolve. Then they'll meet death before they ever touch a strand of your hair. Later that night, Leah lay in his arms, her head resting on his chest as his heartbeat thundered beneath her ear. She should have felt trapped, suffocated by the chains of his obsession. Instead, she felt the weight of his vulnerability pressing on her like a dangerous gift. Ji-woon's fingers traced lazy circles on her back. Promise me something, he murmured into the darkness. What? Promise you'll never try to run again. His voice cracked with a plea he rarely allowed himself. It'll kill me if you do. Leah closed her eyes, torn apart inside. She wanted to promise, to soothe the storm in him. But another part of her whispered, what if staying kills him faster than leaving? She didn't answer, and Ji-woon, sensing her silence, tightened his grip around her, as if he could hold her soul captive with his arms alone.
Hello besties, thank you so much for watching episode 1. Stay tuned for episode 2. Thank you so much for watching. Kindly like, subscribe and share.